This is the plaintiff, Danny Fryer. He says he had a flood in his condo kitchen and the building refuses to reimburse him for the cleaning of the building's common pipe. The defendant is the president of the condominiums board. He refuses to pay him the $597 he's rightfully owed. That's why he's suing him in this court. This is the defendant, Todd Murray. He says the clog in the drain pipe was caused by the homeowner. The guy's trying to collect from the building, and the clog happened 3 years ago. He's sorry, but the plaintiff's owed no money. He's accused of ticking off a tenant.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiff says he had a bad flood in his apartment and the condo association refuses to pay for the damage. But the defendant says that the clog in the plaintiff's pipe was caused by him and he's trying to get the building to pay for his misdeeds. It's the case of ticking off a tenant.
The Honorable Judge Marilyn Milian is now presiding.
It's a
Could you imagine that?
you.
No. I'm not letting you do that. Litigants have been sworn down.
Mr. Fryer, you are suing Laurel Tellis LLC, your homeowners association, for $597 that you say they owe you in legal fees, cleanup fees, and for a drain cleaning where you had to hire Roto-Rooter because according to you, this was a condo issue and not a unit-specific issue. Let me hear your claim. Go ahead.
Well, 4 years ago, I purchased a unit in Fort Lauderdale, and it's a small complex, and such is the case in most small complexes. Its board is dominated by an incestuous group of longtime residents that feel that because of their longevity that they're entitled to run the show over there. And there's three people that control the board, headed by this maniac who's an incredibly ignorant woman who has a hard time articulating a complete English sentence at our board meetings, her friend, and then a character we call Tickle Me, who is our resident prima donna, who loves to practice his little social sorcery and manipulating people so he can have a sense of effervescence and titillation. So when I purchased there, I made friends with a couple of people that were on the outside of this inner clique. And in doing so, these people can really make your life miserable. In fact, one resident there had a cousin from Chile who had a soccer scholarship at a Florida university living with her. And they made him move out because of some old antiquated bylaws that said you got to be a family member. And this 19-year-old boy at the springboard of life ended up giving up his soccer scholarship and going back to Chile because he was just so emotionally devastated. And these are the type of things that go on in this place. And I, being a friend of this individual, was also subject to their kind of harassment.
Okay, I'm very familiar with condo commandos. I'm from South Florida. That's why I'm so familiar.
Okay, I bet.
The plaintiff says there was a flood from the condo above his. The problem was a building problem, and the defendant, who's president of the condo board, refuses to pay up. But the defendant says the plaintiff's upstairs neighbor clogged up his drain, so he's responsible, not the condo association. Let's listen.
What I need is for you to tell me about what happened in this case and the plumbing issue that you had. So talk to me and tell me what happened. You discover the plumbing issue when?
I came home and my sink wouldn't drain on my own water. And then I went upstairs and told Tickle Me to stop using his water because there's a clog and it's outside my unit and, you know, the condo ought to fix it. Well, he was on the board and several days went by and they didn't fix it. They didn't call the resident plumber. then he cops an attitude and floods me out. All of a sudden, I got a flooded out apartment.
What do you mean floods you out?
Well, he ran his water upstairs, and we share a common drain. Okay.
Okay, but so you
And-
didn't call a plumber to get it fixed, and he eventually
No, I
used
didn't.
water, right? Okay, all right. So did you
Right.
then
So-
call a plumber?
Yeah. Then I was forced to call a plumber. Otherwise, this idiot upstairs would continually flush me out using his water in his kitchen, and then I'd have to clean up.
Okay.
So this went on for a
So-
couple of days.
Who did you call out? Roto-Rooter?
I called Roto-Rooter, and they came out. And on the invoice, he states that there are no issues within my unit pipe under the sink, and that the clog was 25 to 30 feet out in the common area.
How did they
of,
know that? How is it that they knew that?
Well, they had a snake and an auger, and they fed the pipe.
I snaked kitchen sink line in Unit 1 out 25 to 30 feet. Clog located within shared waste stack for that side of building. No issues found within the unit's pipe under the sink. Okay, fair enough. So then do you present this to the condo board and say, hey, this wasn't anything I did. This is common area and you guys should pay it?
Yeah, I did, and they wouldn't. They're just being nasty, and because I was aligned with this other resident at the condo, they started victimizing me, and they play this game. Even in the
By the way, let me just
bylaws-
say, I don't know that there's anything particularly unusual about a condo bylaw or antiquated about a condo bylaw saying only family members can live with you. You can't just bring in anyone. I don't think that that's particularly antiquated. Most condos have rules about that. So if he brought in someone who's not a family member and was housing him, perhaps they didn't like that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I do think there's something wrong with not paying for a drain cleaning that you have evidence occurred in common pipes. And I'm kind of curious as to why then they wouldn't pay for it. So I'd like to hear from Mr. Murray. Mr. Murray, I know you're a new president, right?
That's correct.
All right. So what's your understanding about why this wouldn't be paid? Because the Roto-Rooter bill kind of is pretty clear.
No, that's true. Back in 2019, there was another president, and apparently that HOA board hired a plumber to go over to Mr. Fryer's place, and the condo plumber basically said that there was some grease and some stuff in his pipes underneath from food and grease and things like that.
Okay, so we've got battling plumbers. Let me see that report.
Unfortunately, this is two property management companies ago, so no one could produce the document. The only thing I could get was, one of the past residents kind of explaining.
Chit-chat, hearsay? That's what we call hearsay in court. Somebody chit-chatting to you something that they claim happened. But how do you think that's going to play out here? Not only do you not have the reason why you didn't pay, he's got the opposite. He's actually got proof that it's in the common area and it's not in his unit. Let me ask you a question. If you were presented with a bill like this today, what would you advise the board to do?
I mean, obviously, it doesn't look great in that scenario because the document that we had that from our plumber that stated that is not being produced. The situation that we were kind of going with here was it was brought before a previous board about 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. And for that board, having all the current documents at that time declined the plumbing.
Let me suggest that any board from here on in, and the boards that you're going to be running, run a little more efficiently. There's a statute of limitations, and he's within the statute of limitations. So if you got to keep stuff at least as long as the statute of limitations because you can get sued. Whether the prior board decided to pay it or not, I don't care.
Welcome back to the People's Court. The defendant says this flood happened 3 years ago. The board has already ruled on it, so the plaintiff just needs to get over it. But the plaintiff is saying he's not going to quit fighting until he shows the defendant he and the board are wrong. Let's listen.
Well, you're suing for cleanup $50. How do you figure?
Well, it took Well, $25 an hour is going rate for cleaning ladies, and it took a couple hours to clean up the whole kitchen. You have the photograph of the
Yeah, but I don't get it. According to you, the thing backed up because the guy had the nerve to use his water. You had to know that if nobody had fixed it, the guy at some point was going to have the nerve to use his water. Why didn't you just call a plumber and get it done, and then bill them, which is what you ended up doing?
I was waiting.
Sooner.
I was waiting for the condo to.
And that's
do the
fine.
right
You have
thing.
the choice to do that, but it is quite predictable that at some point, if you choose to do that, then at some point somebody might use water. I'm not going to order them to pay you $50 for cleanup. The $177 for legal fees. Tell me about that.
Well, I had hired an attorney on some other issues regarding the condo, and he actually spoke with the attorney that represents the condo association. You have the invoice from my attorney. And there you see three items there where it talks about plumbing issues and current status, and total to $177. And the Becker Law Firm actually said pay the guy. And I also want to add that Todd himself had the same problem, and he got his plumbing paid for. And it was a shared stack.
Todd, did you have the same problem, and did the condo board pay for a plumber?
I did have the same problem, and I did get reimbursed for it, yes, because I brought...
How do you think this is going, Todd?
I understand. I mean, look, all I could do, just let me say this. He came with me and presented me the option of paying the bill. I told him kindly that I would, appropriately bring it to the other board members. I basically explained his side of the story to him, and all of the board members declined it based on the fact that they wanted to move forward.
That sounds more by way of, hey, I did my best, Mr. Fryer, excuse, as opposed to a condo defense. There is no condo defense. According to him, your own lawyers told you to pay it. But aside from that, you have zero evidence that you're presenting in court, and your board apparently didn't keep a whit of the evidence, nor did they bother go get it now in order for you to come in here prepared. So I have seen the evidence of the legal fees. I find that there was really, I don't see absolutely any reason not to have paid this. He had to incur $370 for Roto-Rooter, and he incurred $177 in legal fees. I'm not giving him the cleanup, but that's $547. Verdict for the plaintiff.
Thank you.
So, it's a long time coming, but the plaintiff is going to get back $547. What do you think, Mr. Murray?
I'm fine with that. We just wanted to hash it out in court, and I'll take the judgment.
Especially if you went through the same thing. It's amazing you didn't get him to push this through. But anyway, that's what the judge decides, so you're on the hook for it. Mr. Fryer, good for you for pursuing this and finally going to court. Was it a tough decision for you to sue them? I don't believe it was it?
Well, actually it was, because it was several years since I brought the case, and I didn't want to, really stigmatize myself as this outsider in this incestuous group of prima donnas that has really victimized a couple of other people. It's just incredibly incestuous, stubborn, ignorant people that have got nothing better to do but then to run for a condo board, and they know nothing about property management. Our building is got all kinds of problems because these people don't want to do anything and spend any money. And I have to put up with them now, but now I'll have a little more authority with this victory.
Why don't you run for the board? How about that?
Well, I will, and but it's a small board, and you got these old cliques, and
Okay.
they stay in power and do what they want to do, regardless of the bylaws and the law. And that's it.
Look,
so
it's over now. You've won, so congratulations to you.
Thank you.
And that'll do it for this case. Harvey?
Doug, just to tie this up, when there is a problem that causes damage in a condominium complex, and the damage is resulting from something in a common area, that is the responsibility of the association, the condo association, to deal with, not the individual homeowners.
If someone co-signs on an apartment and then after a few years they go month to month, is the person still responsible like they were when there was a lease?
The guarantor?
Right.
No. Their guarantee is just for the duration of the lease. It's not in perpetuity forever.
Right.
It's
It's
for
a
the
one-year
beginning
lease
and end of the lease that's
or a
right on the
two-year lease,
contract.
whatever it is, right? They're off the hook.
Yeah, the lessor is, I guess, a month to month if they just stay there, and they're responsible,
Presumably
obviously.
they're responsible
Yeah.
under the same terms. But you got to be careful when you sign as a guarantor on those kinds of things for people.
I wouldn't do that for anybody but my children, and I don't even want to do it for them. But I'm forced to.
A lot of stuff can go wrong. They can stiff the landlord on the rent, not be able to pay the rent.
Damage the place.
Then it's on you. They could trash the place, burn it down. God only knows. But, you know, things happen like that, and you don't look ahead and think of it.
No, you
say,
think
"Oh, you want me to
everybody
sign?
thinks
Yeah, I'll
everything
sign."
is going to be okay, and
Right.
sometimes it's not okay. We make a living out of when it's not okay.
Exactly.